Everything about you is magical. Always has been, always will be. Whether you realize it or not, your life is shaped by the images you hold in your mind. Your thoughts lay the foundation, your words give the instruction, but it's your imagination that designs the life you live. Your imagination is not play, it's power. And today we remember how to use it on purpose. Welcome back to Think It So, the podcast where we now affirm that what we think we become and what we speak we create. I'm Robinette, and today we're exploring imagination, the often overlooked architect of our creative power. This episode is deeply inspired by the teachings of Neville Goddard. Neville was a mystic and spiritual teacher whose work centered on the creative power of imagination. You'll hear me reference his ideas and even quote him directly throughout today's episode. If this name is new to you, don't worry, I got you covered. I'll be walking you through the principles in a way that's easy to understand and apply. And if you want to go deeper after this episode, check out the playlist on my YouTube channel, where I've recorded full audiobooks of Neville's work in my own voice. Just search the playlist and let his words speak to your spirit as they have mine. You've heard me speak about the power of thought. You've heard me affirm the power of our words. But today we're going deeper. We're pulling back the curtain on the engine behind both of those, imagination. Thought is where the idea forms. Speaking it gives it direction and momentum. But imagination is the place where it all begins. It's the invisible workshop where the blueprint of your reality is drafted. Not with logic, but with emotion and belief. You can think positively all day long and say all the right affirmations. But if you haven't imagined the life you want, if you haven't felt it, seen it, lived it in your inner world, then you're not building, you're just recycling. Let's pause and look around the space that you're in right now. Every object you see, your phone, your desk, the walls around you, all of it was once invisible. It began in someone's imagination. Even the chair you're sitting on, before it was wood or plastic or fabric, it was a mental image in someone's mind. A designer, maybe long ago, pictured it. They imagined how it would feel to sit in it, how it would support the body, and how it might look in a room. That vision that no one else could see, that came before the measurements, before the tools, before the materials. Everything is created twice. First in imagination and then in form. Neville said that imagination is the first cause, not your effort, not the outside world, not even your spoken word. Because before you can say it, you have to see it. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. That him is your imagination. It's not a man off in the sky. It's the creative spirit within you. This is why you can't skip imagination and expect your affirmations to land. Saying I am abundant without ever feeling yourself free, secure, relaxed, and joyful, it's just a shell of the truth. Neville teaches that feeling is the secret, and imagination is the channel that brings feeling and form together. Now let's look at it in a different way, a more modern way. Think about how popular vision boards have become. You cut out the magazine clippings, you add the dream home, you add the vacation spot, the wedding dress, the check for 6 figures. It's become a whole ritual, making vision boards. You glue, glitter, mood, music, and manifestation. But here's the question. Is it just arts and crafts, or is it activation? The truth is, a vision board by itself doesn't do the creating. It's not the poster that has the power. It's the imagination you pour into it. That board only becomes a tool when you enter the scene you've placed on it. When you don't just look at a picture of the beach, but you actually feel the sand under your feet. You don't just see a photo of a dream kitchen, you smell the fresh coffee brewing in it every morning. You don't just pen a quote about love, you feel your body being held by someone who truly sees you. That's what Neville was teaching long before Pinterest ever existed. A vision board is a map, but imagination is the vehicle that gets you there. If you just glance at it every morning without engaging your emotional energy, your inner world, it just stays a pretty poster. But when you close your eyes and you enter the scene, when you live from the moment as if it's real, that's when things begin to move. And that brings us to one of Neville's most powerful lessons: the difference between thinking of something and thinking from it. This right here is where most people get stuck. They think of what they want, but they never move into the experience of being there. Neville makes a bold distinction between these two states of mind. Thinking of your desire keeps it outside of you. Thinking from your desire places you inside the experience. Thinking from it, that's creative power. It means stepping into the wish fulfilled, living from the in, acting as if it's already done. But here's something we often overlook too. Imagination doesn't just create the things we want. It also creates the things we fear, the things we resent, and the things that we rehearse in worry. The screen of our mind doesn't judge. It simply accepts what we feed it. So if you're constantly imagining worst case scenarios, betrayal, lack, or conflict, your subconscious goes to work fulfilling that vision too. That's why it's so important to become aware of what we're mentally playing on loop. Use your imagination consciously, with love, with intention, with care. Neville taught your imagination must be where you want to be before your body ever gets there. This applies to everything from healing your body to transforming your finances. You don't get well and then feel whole. You feel whole, and that inner alignment draws wellness into form. You don't get rich and then feel abundant. You imagine abundance, and it opens doors money alone could never touch. Imagination isn't pretending, it's becoming. Let me tell you how I experienced this truth before I even knew it was a spiritual law. There was a home in my neighborhood that I used to walk past almost every day. It was stunning. It was a big 2-story home, lions carved into the double front doors. It had presence. Every time I passed it, I found myself wondering what it looked like inside. But I didn't stop there. I would imagine myself walking through those doors. I'd picture myself standing in one of the upstairs windows looking down at me walking by. I had never seen the interior, but in my imagination, I was already in that house. And fast forward a bit, my husband and I decided it was time to move into a larger home. We called a realtor who arranged to pick us up and show us a few listings. I had no clue which houses we were about to go and see that day. And guess what happened? The last house the realtor showed us on that day was that house. The one with the lions on the doors. The one I had been imagining myself in for months. I was floored. I knew that the realtor nor my husband had any idea that I had been seeing myself in that home over and over again. But when I stepped inside for the first time, my imagination really went to work. I saw my kids playing in the pool in the backyard. I heard our family laughing at the dinner table. I could feel us living there. And we did. We bought that house. Now here's the thing. I didn't know anything about the power of imagination at that time. I hadn't read anything about Neville, had never even heard his name. I had never even created a vision board. But I was using the law. I was creating intuitively because imagination is natural. It's embedded in us. And once I became aware of that creative power, everything changed. You see, the moment you become conscious of your imagination, you unlock its real power. Neville said feeling is the secret. It's not just about seeing an image. It's about becoming emotionally involved in that image. That's what brings the blueprint to life. You can repeat affirmations until your voice gets tired, but until you feel the truth of what you're saying, your subconscious won't respond. It's like knocking on a door without actually opening it. When I imagined myself in that house, I wasn't repeating, I lived there like a robot. I was feeling what it would be like to walk across that threshold. I was hearing the sounds of my kids splashing in the pool, smelling dinner on the stove. I didn't know it then, but I was using the exact formula that Neville laid out. Imagination fused with feeling becomes form. Your feelings are the bridge between the invisible and the visible. They are the signal your imagination sends to the universe saying, I'm already here. Long before the word imagination became a trending topic or a self-help buzzword, it was seen as something sacred, something divine. Ancient texts describe the creative force not as something outside of us, but something within, a power that speaks worlds into existence, not through effort, but through belief and vision. They speak of a creative mind that sees what is not yet seen, a power that brings form out of formlessness, a spark that says, let it be, and then it is. These writings tell us that invisible gives rise to the visible, and that this world, everything we touch, wear, walk on, or dream about was first imagined, first thought into being. Even more profoundly, they suggest that we are made in the image of this creative power, not physically, but functionally, meaning we have the same ability to imagine, declare, and manifest. That's not a metaphor, that's instruction. It was never about worshiping a power outside of us. Let me say that again. It was never about worshiping a power outside of us. It was always about awakening the power within us and recognizing imagination as the divine language through which we create our lives. We are here to think, to speak, and most importantly, to imagine. As Neville said, God is your own beautiful imagination. What could be more divine than the power to create? And here's the thing. You don't even have to learn how to imagine. You were born knowing. As children, we used our imagination all the time. We created whole worlds with a cardboard box. We talked to imaginary friends. We turned living rooms into kingdoms and playgrounds into planets. We didn't doubt our creative power until someone told us to. Little by little, the adults around us, many with good intentions, told us to stop pretending, be realistic, grow up, stop daydreaming. They didn't really mean any harm, but they didn't understand that imagination wasn't a distraction. It was divine intelligence expressing through us. And I'm sure that's why those ancient texts remind us to be as little children again, not to be immature, but to return to that pure state of belief, where the invisible felt just as real as what we could touch. When we imagined as children, we weren't waiting for permission. We knew that we could be anything. That childlike wonder, that's not something you outgrow. That's your original design, and it's time to bring it back, not just as play, but as power. And now that we understand imagination is the starting place for all creation, and not just some poetic idea, but a real spiritual power, it's time to use it on purpose. And here's how you activate it in your daily life. The first step is to choose a specific desire. Don't just say, I want a better life. Get specific. Ask yourself, what do I want to experience next? What would bring me peace, joy, freedom, and ease? It might be a new home, a healed relationship, financial flow, or simply more time to rest. Pick one desire, just for now, and make it real in your mind. The second step is to create a mental scene that implies it's already done. And here's the key. Don't imagine the process. That is not your concern. Imagine the end result. If it's a new job, picture someone congratulating you on your first week. If it's love, imagine a quiet moment of laughter with someone who adores you. If it's health, see yourself dancing, stretching, or hiking, free and energized. And keep it short, just a 5 to 10 second scene, like a video clip on loop, like a reel or a short. Make it vivid. Use all your senses. What do you see around you? What do you hear? The music, the voices, your own laughter. What do you feel? The texture of the couch, the warmth of the sun, the tight hug of the one who loves you. And even what do you smell or taste? Let your imagination go all the way there. Let it be realer than real, because in the subconscious, it already is. And here's the third step. Feel the emotion and loop it in gently. This is the golden key. Feeling. Don't just observe the scene, enter it emotionally. Ask yourself, how does it feel to live this moment? What's the mood of this scene? Is it peaceful, joyful, grateful, proud? That feeling is the signature. It tells your subconscious, yes, this, more of this. This is who I am now. And then gently loop that short scene 3 to 5 times like a meditation. Do it just before you fall asleep. That's the most powerful time for us. It's when the conscious mind is quiet and the subconscious is open. Let it be the last thing you think of and feel before you go to sleep. And you don't have to force it. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to feel it as if it's real. And if doubts come up, and they will, don't fight them. Just return to the scene. You're not trying to overpower doubt. You're retraining your focus. And over time, your imagination becomes your inner dwelling place, not your escape, but your home. And before we close, I want to share with you one of Neville Goddard's most well-known stories. It's a powerful example of what happens when you think from your desire and not just of it. So in 1933, Neville was in New York and he wanted to visit his family in Barbados, but he didn't have money, not even for a steamship ticket. And when he shared this desire with his mentor, Abdullah, he was met with a firm response. You are already in Barbados, is what Abdullah told him. So night after night, Neville imagined himself falling asleep in his father's home in Barbados. He visualized the surroundings. He felt the sheets on his body, and he mentally placed himself there until it became natural. Weeks later, seemingly out of nowhere, he received a letter from his brother in Barbados inviting him home and including a ticket. What had felt impossible became real through imagination and inner conviction. Now, when Neville tells this story, it's a bit more detailed, and yes, he had his moments of doubt, which he tried to express to his mentor, Abdullah. But Abdullah wouldn't hear of it. He wouldn't entertain anything other than the fulfilled state, because Abdullah understood the laws of imagination very deeply. He knew that once you've claimed the state within, the outer world must conform. If you want to hear this story in Neville's own words, be sure to check out the full audiobooks that I've recorded on my YouTube channel. So let's bring it all together. We've talked about the power of imagination, not just as a concept, but as a spiritual creative force. We've learned that everything, every object, every experience, every opportunity, it all begins as an image in the mind. that imagination isn't passive. It's not fantasy. It's how form is born. We explored how to move from thinking of your desires to thinking from them. And we saw how pairing imagination with feeling is what makes the invisible become visible. You don't need to struggle to manifest your life. You need to see it, feel it, and believe it from within. This is not just about positive thinking. It's about creative becoming. You were born with this gift. You use it all the time, maybe without knowing, but you're using it. Now it's time to use it intentionally. So to recap, imagination is not an accessory, it's the source. Everything begins in the unseen before it becomes seen. You are the creator of your experience, not by force, but by focus, not by effort, but by embodiment. If today's episode moved you, share it with someone you love. Download the Imagination Activation Journal page in the description to put this into practice. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and if this message reminds you of your power, please leave a review. It helps others remember theirs also. And until next time, keep imagining, keep becoming, because what you think, you become. What you speak, you create. And what you imagine becomes your life. So let me leave you with this. If thought is the blueprint and words are the command, then imagination is the architect with vision in her hand. She draws from the silence, shapes dreams out of air, builds castles from feelings you didn't know were there. Thought lays the pattern, words speak it true. But imagination, she walks it into view. She paints with emotion. She sculpts with belief. She turns what if into already and doubt into relief. She doesn't wait for evidence. She becomes what she sees. She whispers to your future, come live inside of me. So think with intention, speak with command, but imagine it real and watch it land. I'm Robinette, and I'll meet you in the next episode of Think It So.